Hello, right, we're going to show you how to maintain your chain, how to adjust it and lubricate it. So you should inspect your chain regularly, every time you ride ideally, and check your owner's manual to see how much slack is supposed to be in there. My owner's manual's here. I'm supposed to have 2 to 3 centimetres of slack in mine, so I've got too much, you can see there. You want your bike to be on the side stand for this. There needs to be load on the back wheel, because the reason for that slack is because when somebody sits on it, the angle of the swing arm changes and some slack is taken up. So if you haven't got enough, if you haven't got enough slack in that chain, then you can wear out your gearbox and also hamper the suspension. You can stop the suspension fully compressing or extending. So yeah, we're going to adjust that. Okay, so to take up that slack, what we're doing now is tightening these bolts. You've got one there on one swing arm and the other one is on the other swing arm. And what we need to do as we do this is make sure that the rear wheel is aligned correctly. You've got these marks, you've got these lines along the side of the swing arm on both sides, and you've also got a notch just above the bolt there. So for example, it's on this 3rd and a bit notch back on this side, and it needs to be the same on the other side. If you tighten it and one side goes a bit too far, just knock it back like that and start again. If you've loosened that enough, you can just kick it back that way. They're not incredibly accurate, so some people prefer to actually measure from the centre of the rear wheel spindle to the end of the swing arm, just to make sure that the distance is the same on both sides. We're happy that the alignment is correct, that both sides of the swing arm are the same. It's the 3rd notch back from the front on both sides. We're going to start tightening it up, tightening these bolts to get rid of this slack. And what to do now, given that we're happy that it's aligned, just turn each side 1 turn at a time, or even half a turn at a time if you don't need to take out much slack. And then if you do each side 1 turn, half a turn at a time, you know basically that you're keeping that alignment, you're moving each side back the same amount. So that's 1/4 turn and a 1/4 turn on that side. And so now we check again, and that's much better. That's about 2 or 3 centimetres of slack. That's about what we want. So now we're going to re-tighten this, having adjusted the chain. And you need your owner's manual again, because you've got to check the torque setting, the required torque setting for that, and you also need a torque wrench. So we've retightened that, and you know it's at the correct torque setting when the torque wrench makes a click. The slack's gone, that's the right amount of slack in there. Now, if your chain's getting old, you may find it won't wear evenly all the way around, so you might want to roll the bike back and forth and see if it's still tight or overly slack in some other places. If it is, you either have to start again or it might be time to replace your chain. And also, as part of this process, have a look at your sprocket teeth. If they're beginning to lean, then again it's time to replace your chain. So we've done that, the chain's correctly adjusted, now we're going to lubricate it. So we've put the bike on its centre stand to lubricate the chain, because it helps if you can spin the wheel, otherwise you've got to roll it back and forth as you do it, unless you've got a paddock stand. We're using Activate chain lube. This is a slightly oilier, I guess, slightly oilier chain lube than some. I prefer it to the chain lubes that leave a really sticky residue. It doesn't have quite the anti-fling qualities. Just a light spray on the side, just to give it a bit of a corrosion protection. And as we clean the chain, so there wasn't really much lube on it, I'll just do the rest. Just give it a light spray from another direction as well. So that's that done. I've just put a light coating all over the chain. Not too much, because I don't want it to get flung all over the place. And actually a tip for avoiding chain lube getting flung everywhere is to not put on too much, but to also, I find it's really good to put on a little bit every time you go out for a ride. If you get the amount right, it doesn't build up, and it just acts as a kind of like the similar effect to a Scott oiler, but it's manual. It's called feathering, and I find it's the best way to keep your chain lubed and to extend its life.